See, this is just it. That's just my personal opinion. Like, I love the first couple, and there was just a bit too much boat involved in Black Flag.
Welcome back, everyone, to our weekly Pike and Pixel show with myself, Ian McIntyre. Unfortunately, I am no longer a victim of the last round of Xbox layoffs that happened last summer. A whole new generation, the class of 2026, if you will, have sadly become the latest to leave Xbox. We will get into that today for sure, but to help me, as always, is Ross Thompson, TommyT999 himself. How are you, mate? How's your week been? Have you had a chance to play anything recently?
I'm okay, thank you. It's been a very busy week, and gaming-wise, I actually haven't played a huge amount. There's been a few games of Warzone on an evening with some friends, but outside of that, it's just work has taken over life, unfortunately, in this last week. So it's not really anything too much. But luckily, we have someone that may have played actually some games in the last week. We are very welcome to join our guest for this week, Michelle Menard, Chief Creative Officer at Dragon Snack Games. Michelle, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining us. Can I ask and start by asking you, I guess, what are you playing right now?
Hi, yeah, thanks for having me. Mostly what I've been playing outside of like when we have to play test for work is actually Road to Empress 1, which is like an FMV choose your own adventure Chinese C drama of Wu Zetian's rise to power, and it's freaking amazeballs. It's so good.
Have they just announced another one of that? I'm pretty sure.
It came out, and it's like a direct continuation of Road to Empress 1, so I have to finish 1 because...
yes. Okay, I was going to say, I'm sure I heard something, so I was like, is she playing the first one and not the new one, or am I getting confused? So, yeah, no.
It's a whole story. Keep going.
Perfect. You got plenty to get through then. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We've got a pretty packed show actually today. We're going to kick things off with the charts. This will be the top 10 games released on Steam in the first half of 2026 by highest usage. It was quite a slow week for actual releases last week, so we're going to look at things a little bit differently and see what stacks up as the top games for the year so far. We're then going to head into the interview all around Dragon Snacks and talk to Michelle there. Then we'll look at the news for the week. There's been plenty, unfortunately not all great. We'll look at the Xbox layoffs. Sony obviously announcing that they're going to stop physical disc production in 2028. Game Pass being down to around 30 million subscribers. And then finally, we're going to finish off with what we can look forward to in the week ahead.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Ross. And yeah, you're a great idea for you this week that no disrespect to the people who have released a game, there's several hundred of them that release every week on Steam, but no major hitters this week. Some big games coming out next week. So yeah, great idea to look at the top games of the year so far in terms of Steam. And so with that...
So we're halfway through 2026, and these are the top 10 games released on Steam in 2026 so far by highest usage. First up, at number 10, it's Neo 3 from Koei Tecmo. Number 9, it's Marathon from Bungie. And that's followed at number 8 by Mugenics. Everyone loves the cats. Windrose in at number 7. And many people's Game of the Year contender at number 6, it's Crimson Desert. A recent release back in May, it's Playground Games and Xbox Game Studios' Forza Horizon 6 at number 5, followed by a very recent release, Mecha Chameleon at number 4. Number 3, it's Capcom's Resident Evil Requiem. Number 2, we've got Subnautica 2. And the number 1 is Slay the Spire 2.
Yeah, thanks, Ross. Any surprises in there for you? I mean, I guess it's all the biggest releases of the year. But yeah, Slay the Spire 2, I was surprised. It's got quite mixed, middling reviews. For a lot of people didn't expect the early access, but it's number 1 game of the year so far.
Yeah, obviously we're just looking at Steam numbers here as well, so it's not taking into consideration console platforms. But yeah, I was surprised by a couple of things. One, I kind of thought Resident Evil might be a little bit higher. I know it's at number 3, but I thought it might be a little bit higher. Mecha Chameleon out of nowhere just recently has blown up and has already managed to make it into number 4. And the only other one, like, not surprised, but Crimson Desert is, as I said in the chart, like some people's Game of the Year. So it's good to see that in there. But again, I thought that might have been a little bit higher. And sadly, Marathon being there was a surprise to me, even at number 9. But it obviously had a good few weeks near the start.
It's interesting how you can have one of the best releases of the year and be talked about by all the things that are going on in your world right now. Michelle, do you get a chance to play all the big AAA games, the things that hit these charts? I mean, I'm always half between indie and the big stuff to try and kind of stay connected to things, but I'm mostly indie. But how about you? Are you the same?
Yeah, I actually pretty much haven't played a AAA game in years, which I know is kind of like anathema for what I do, but I mostly play indie games at this point. But I guess the largest indie games, like obviously all the super giant games, I was actually replaying Hades 1 again at the beginning of the year. But yeah, I don't know. As you can tell from my Road to Empress, like love, I don't typically play like a lot of the other stuff that's, I guess, quote, more popular. I'll stick to my FFVs.
Hades is super indie, right? It's like,
yeah.
I mean,
Hades 2's coming out, will come out.
Oh, Hades 2 is so good. It's so good. Well, 100% in Hades 2, so I was like, I should go do that to 1. I only got like 70% of the way through 1, so I should go.
And it's just the artwork of that game is just
it's so good.
Donkulous.
And the music.
Yes. Yeah, I have that huge box set, the kind of 12 LP box set they did for the first one.
Yes, so do I.
I can listen to the first disc.
I don't. Sorry, I don't. I just don't have it.
Anyway, let's go straight in and keep talking to you, Michelle. So, first of all, tell us about your game. People who haven't heard of Dragon Snacks or the game you're working on, give us like the elevator pitch for the title and where you guys are at right now.
Sure. Yeah, so Project Farhaven is our first title at Dragon Snacks Games, and it is a multiplayer first social RPG for you and up to 15 of your closest friends. We are targeting explicitly Gen Z and Gen Alpha. We do obviously see this as a full 4-quadrant title, but those are really the demographics that we're going after. And it is a town builder / procedural dungeon crawler where you and all your friends can go out, destroy monsters, collect fat loot, and then bring it back to craft things, build buildings, make stuff. We have a whole lot of UGC tools directly embedded in the game itself, so there's a lot of Invest and Express work. So it isn't just us telling you what to do. We're really giving you all the tools. It's a sandbox. And then you and your friends, it's just a third space to hang out, because like when we were kids, we go hang out at the mall and be nasty-ass, grubby mall rats, but they don't do that anymore. And so it's really just a space that you can go hang out with your friends on a Friday night, on a weekend, have Discord up and running. There's full Discord integration and just do stuff. So it's, third space activity land for Gen Z, Gen Alpha.
Crazy. I mean, creatively, is that super exciting to build hundreds of different activities and things to do or whatever? I mean, presumably doing a narrative where you have a beginning, middle, and end, you take somebody on a journey is your typical creative, journey. Is this more fun or creatively like herding cats?
Both. So most of at least my professional experience has been in 4X and strategy simulation land, which is great. I love it. But it was also getting very frustrating whenever like I would talk to my kid and she's like, "Can I play your game?" I'm like, "You mean the one about genocide yet again?" No, not yet. Couple more years maybe, because I don't want to explain the political nuances of what's actually happening right now and why you're nuking that person. So so it is nice to be building something she can playtest even now. Yay. And it's faster, which is nice. It's smaller. I like the little bit of different chunks, but it's just it's a different vibe. It's just something. There's something truly joyful about making something that is at its core joyful and not a murder fest robot like fun time. So after 20 years, it's nice to do something a little bit different.
Yeah, so what made you guys start up and do a game aimed at Gen Alpha, Gen Z, and do this kind of thing? Because I mean, again, that's an ambitious thing to do for an indie studio, and it's not your core thing. So why did you run after this? Why did you give yourself these headaches? Do you ask yourself this question every day?
So all 3 of the founders, we all rage quit our jobs at around the same time for various reasons. And at least for me, I can say like I decided the day before the solar eclipse hit to go drive to Ohio to go stare at the sun. So I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing anymore with my life, and I really need to like go do something. So obviously staring at the sun is the answer. And while sitting out in the alley, literally some random town in Ohio, I don't remember the town anymore because we were chasing the cloud cover. I was kind of sitting there like, I want to build something that A, I can play with my kids, and B, is meeting gamers where they are now, because having worked with a lot of the big publishers that are around and a lot of these bigger AAA titles, we're still building games in a lot of ways for our generation and before, and that is not how the younger generation consumes media or plays games. And there's not a lot for them that is made for them. there's things that we're like chucking at them and saying, you should enjoy this. And they're like, yeah, not really. I'd rather just go sit in this weird thing and talk to my buddies. And you're like, okay. So it is kind of rethinking, what does media mean to this generation? How do they view themselves as it relates to gaming? Because they don't consider themselves gamers. Like, that's something we would identify with. Like, I'm a gamer, like I'm not. Whereas games are just ubiquitous to them. It's just something that they all do. Kind of like how everyone in our generation watches TV. We don't say, I'm a TV viewer, because it goes without saying, you have a freaking TV and you watch shit on it. Whereas they're like, of course I game, of course I play games. So it's more of that, like, I'm an RPG gamer, or I like puzzle games, or I like casual games. And then they're just assuming they're already a gamer. So just the way they think about this media platform it's just very different. So trying to just reconsider, what does it mean to make games for these people? How do we meet them where they are, and not just try to like make them like what instead we like. And we all the three founders had kind of the same exact experience. And Jen obviously has a ton of experience and research coming from Game Pass, but like, seeing what's trending, what's not, and then Nimco coming from mobile. And so, yeah, it was just kind of this beautiful little thing we all met up over the summer. We're like, wow, we all kind of want to do the same thing. Let's do it in this economy and all be crazy together.
Yeah, that leads to the obvious question, which is, funding is the entire indie life until you launch, basically. And in this climate, doing what you do, I mean, obviously you guys have got a lot of experience. You mentioned the other people you're working with, including Jen McLean, who's pretty well known in the industry, and an old friend of mine. But at this stage, in this climate, doing a Gen Z game and doing this kind of experience and the kind of budget you set at, I don't know, ask if it's easier, but did that kind of land as being something that people were like, oh yeah, that makes sense, you're doing something different, you're trying to get into the new audience, that'll make sense? Or is typically everyone who raises money going, well, we just want the same as everybody else, like we want something we can point numbers at and go, that's successful, give me one of those?
It depends. So when we speak to, say, like publishers or angels who have children in this demographic, they are immediately like, yep, no, I get it. I'm watching my kid literally right now playing something with his friends. He's got his phone sitting next to him with Discord open, and that is literally what they do every night and every afternoon. So they get it. They experience it. It's something that they're living with day to day. And when we're speaking to others who don't know, they're just very much like, well, why? I don't get it. Like, why bother making it multiplayer first in the first place? Why, like, what's the single player thing? Like, why aren't you just making a single player game? We're like, you don't get it. That's
and UGC,
that's fine.
I mean, that's super expensive to develop, right? That's awesome. I mean, that UGC unlock, which is user generated content for anyone who doesn't know, and that can unlock huge length in games because people get to play in it, they get to have some identity in it, they get to share themselves, and so they get to go. So it's genuinely fun as well as being sticky and all those other kind of horrible business terms. But again, super difficult to do. Typically, is UGC got easier to use, or are you guys using an engine? Are you using things to help you, or are you stupid enough to try and do this yourselves?
Oh no, we're dumb. Well, we're dumb, and yes. So we are using an engine. Most of my life has been working in proprietary engines, so no, I understand. And no, so we're doing any more content. I like tools. Tools are great. So we are using Unity because at some point we want to be able to port this to many different platforms and as many different consoles. And so that it works for us. And also we're not, with our art style, we're not trying to push like every single raycast crappy ass pixel out there. So it's fine. We don't need Unreal. We're using Unity. But then that being said, we're still pretty much rolling everything ourselves within Unity. So, even a lot of the multiplayer work we're doing this kind of like peer-to-peer direct authority. So there isn't even like a normal host type situation. So we're just keeping the state of the game up in the cloud for you. You can log onto your town whenever you want. Your friends don't have to be online at the same time. It's fully asynchronous. All the UGC tools are fully developed within house. So could we have employed plugins and other stuff better? Yes. Did we? No. It's fine. Everything's fine.
One, right? Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. It is exactly what we want, which is great. We are using a handful of plugins, like shout out to Tony Lee, like his pixel crusher stuff is great. But yeah, all the UGC tools we build in house.
So you're on the creative side. Like I kind of joked about how funding can be the be all and end all, because if anyone doesn't know, very often you're and I think you guys are in the situation where you raise money, you've got your team going, you're paying people salaries, but you don't have enough money to finish the project. So you're literally, as you're building it, you're trying to get more stuff in. And you're doing that as well because you have to prove that there's players out there who want to play it. You've got to prove that you guys can build what you say you can build before you get the extra money in. But it's this weird situation where, in theory, you won't finish the project unless you keep going and keep doing these milestones and so on. Now, from the creative point of view, I guess there's two questions. One, how much of that do you get involved in? Does everyone have to get involved in that, or can you just pass it off to Jen and the business people deal with that? And two, how do you run a creative team on that longevity and being creative and fun when you're like, in theory, we don't have jobs in 6 months. I mean, we should be fine, but in theory, how do you? Is everyone just used to that in indie land, or is that genuinely like a day-to-day? How do I keep things fun and sparky and creative when it's like we're not?
And this is why I don't sleep and why I'm up at 2 a.m. every morning.
Okay.
Here we go.
Tell me.
Like literally. So let's see. Your first question. This is something I speak a lot about actually when I go to conferences, and especially when they're aimed more students, is that games are a business. At the end of the day, when you're doing this for a living and employing people, it's a business. And therefore, I don't care what role you're doing, you need to approach it as a business, not as a I can do whatever the fuck I want art form. If that's how you want to do it as a hobby, do it in your free time, do it after work, after on the weekend, whatever. Then you can do whatever the fuck you want. I don't care. But if you're doing this as a business, your head has to be there the entire time. Your decisions need to be made from that kind of lens, and everything you need to be doing needs to be for your target market, your target audience. Otherwise, you don't have a fucking product at the end of the day. Like, who are you building this for? Why are you wasting all this time and money if it isn't for the actual people that are supposed to play the game? So yes, I am technically in the creative side, but no, we obviously do everything for the business, for the company, to make sure that this is a product that someone wants to play in the market. And yeah, everything we do, like Chris as well, like we help Jen as much as we can, and she tells us what she needs to best pitch things and like promote it.
Sure.
We make sure we deliver. Yeah.
I mean,
and then from the more
job unless you're building the game and have new stuff to show and everything's moving along, right? That's
and then are there things that I would rather prioritize from a more creative standpoint? Absolutely. But will they show as well in like some of these pitch meetings or to publishers? No. And so they don't need to go in right now. That's fine. That's part of the whole push and pull of like why we have weekly founder meetings and like what is our biggest priority as a company right now, and not just what Michelle wants to do today, because I do randomize people all the time because that's what I do. And as from a more like creative standpoint, it's like we are very transparent with the team of like where we are with funding. It's actually been really nice. Like we've had a lot of the employees actually say to us that, this is the most transparent company they've ever worked for. They really appreciate how open and honest we are with where funding is, how much money is in the bank, what that means to like actual, then how many paychecks and payrolls there are going forward. So like we don't hide anything from them. They know exactly where we are. And like every time we have,
yeah,
otherwise, like it's a startup. What the fuck are you doing? Why? These are your employees. Like, why would you lie to them?
I know, but
I don't get it.
I mean,
I don't get it.
Yeah, they don't know.
No,
they only have 2
I
months
get it.
funding left.
And which part I don't understand. It's like and this one. So like, even though we don't have as much money as we're like in the bank right now, we're still paying people, and people are still putting in like 110% effort, even though that's not actually physically possible, because they know we're not lying. We're being very transparent and truthful. And so you treat your employees and like their friends and coworkers with respect and common human decency, and wow, they'll do the same. It's better. It's just don't be a dick.
Should we transition now to talk about Xbox? No, let's leave it. But to that, I mean, obviously the gaming world's in theory on fire. There's obviously the crunch from COVID versus Embracer and Microsoft going there buying everybody and then regretting it. The push into Game Pass, blah, blah, blah. We can talk about all that stuff in detail, but how much of that Game of Thrones stuff with Tencent versus PlayStation versus Microsoft buying people up, changing things, policies, whatever, how much of that stuff actually affects you? I mean, I know obviously everyone's gamers and everyone's paying attention to this stuff, and you guys will see Xbox as a platform that you want to sell your game on, so I'm sure you wish them well, because it'd be insane not to, never mind the human beings behind it. But how much of that stuff actually affects you, and how much in indie land do you just kind of think, we'll just worry about our game and launch when we launch and see what the situation looks like? Or does this stuff affect you guys on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, so like anytime there's a huge shakeup or layoff like this, it's always terrible. Like even though we are in indies, like we all have friends who are working there, and so it sucks. No one wants the industry to shrink. Whatever you might think about Microsoft as a corporation as a whole, layoffs are bad. You don't want them to happen. So we do obviously pay attention. You have to see what's going on, because while we may not be working directly with some of these bigger companies right now, obviously they are some of the bigger platforms and console holders that if you want to eventually go there, you need to pay attention. But what they do trickles down, as much as I hate that goddamn word when it comes to like politics and economics, because what they do, smaller companies and other publishers are at least watching, and it informs their own decision-making processes, even if it doesn't necessarily translate as a one-to-one. If they see larger publishers and platforms pulling out or not investing or scaling back, many times they're more likely to as well. Because they're like, well, what are they seeing? Why is something that must be like really shitty with the economy? It's matching our own financial reports. And so we'll stop investing for now as well, which is really kind of more what we're seeing, like investment, and especially in American companies, is really, really low and really terrible right now. It's bad. But I can't blame them, because you look around and you look at the economy and everything that's going on, you can see why, a lot of people with the money don't necessarily want to be making big, huge risks right now.
Yeah, it's unfortunate the way that if Concord fails, it then pulls money out of indies. Even though, like,
it does. But that's just, it's everything's all kind of like connected at the end of the day.
We're going to start with AI. Do you have any top shelf opinions on AI in terms of why do I ask this question? The question I'm asking. The natural debate is around technical tools are fair game because they are just tools to help you do what you want to do. Creatively hands off. But that's getting pretty mixed now. Just using AI at all is seen as being something. Creatively, like, obviously, where do you stand with that, and like the game and the industry wise? Do you see this as an existential threat, or is this just more saber rattling for the big guys trying to sell whatever they're trying to sell?
So I'm going to preface this that when we're talking about this, I mean generative AI, because there's other AI, and like big data set stuff is totally different, and there's other things that are 100% fine. Generative AI is a pile of hot fucking garbage. This is like the only time I've ever found myself agreeing with Strauss on anything, but he was completely correct when he, made a statement a couple months ago that, AI is a backwards facing technology. And if we in games want to do something new and interesting and different, we have to be forward facing. I'm like, slow clap, sir, you summed it up correctly. AI, whenever I've even just attempted to like poke at it a little bit, like in generative AI, it is not interesting. It's garbage. It's like just regurgitating crap that it found illegally often online. I'm not getting anything useful out of this. My team doesn't get anything useful out of it. We do not use anything at all with generative AI. And we have made a promise to our players even now that we will never, ever put anything generative AI that is player facing in the game, ever. The engineering team will, however, sometimes use it for things like, hey, I need to write a Unity inspector. Can you? And then it got me 80% of the way there and saved me like 3 hours worth of work. And then obviously I had to go hand touch it up and like fix all the bugs because it can't vibe code its way out of a fucking paper box either. And so that I don't have as much an issue with when it's something that is like making the administrium of the job easier, or just like automating some crappy ass checklist processes that I had to do on the back end. Like, hey, I need help. Just what is the fucking syntax for this goddamn like stupid code routine again? Thank you. Otherwise I would have to spend like 5 hours on Stack Overflow finding the one thread that had the thing I needed in it. Great. And that I don't really have a problem with it, because if it's just automating bullshit and let someone do the more creative human side of the job faster and better, all right, I think there's potential uses there. But as a generative like replacement of the human creative process, absolutely not. That's not what it was designed to do. It's not what it's good at. Also, it can't fucking math. It can't number. So please don't put your financial records into ChatGPT and ask it to do analyses. Stop doing that.
I know, you asked me, like, are you insane? No, I'm not giving access to my financial records.
But people are doing it. And you're like, stop it. Stop it. God.
So let me ask you the two final questions, and we'll let you breathe, Michelle. First is, well, the last two are just like the joy and the pain. Like, let's start with the joy. Like, what's the best thing about doing what you do, despite everything we just talked about, all the challenges that come with doing what you do something creative, and just like trying to birth something into the world that's meaningful or whatever. But what's the joy? Is it the game? Is it the people? Is it the day-to-day? Is it the launch? Like, what is it that keeps you going? What is it that's special? What do you love about doing what you do?
It is definitely a mix between the day-to-day and the people, probably more of the people. This was hands down the best team I've ever worked with in my life. They're amazing. We're small. The team has gelled phenomenally well. Like, we are like 8 devs plus a handful of contractors, an intern, and a fractional C staff. But they've been absolutely phenomenal to work with, and we are full remote, and that doesn't make a big difference. And even then, from the other side of it, on the people side, we've made an early decision to be as public facing as possible with the least amount of barriers. And so we already have a public Discord, and then we talk to potential players and release play tests on there already, even though we are pre-alpha. And just having that immediate direct connection with the player base now is phenomenal and is nothing I've never been able to do this at all at any company I've worked with before because it's too corporate, too large, and they're frankly too scared of releasing something that isn't polished the fuck out of. And it's like, well, it's not done. I'm like, that's kind of the fucking point. Yeah. I want to put it out in front of someone before it's done so we can fix it faster and easier and cheaper. That's kind of what we should be doing. And so having the freedom to do that has been phenomenal. And yeah, the people we have, the community we've built on the Discord is just great to interact with. They're a good group of peeps.
Yeah, and I think all of that stuff is also why people love indies and love a great community and a good Discord, a good, kind of community manager and so on, versus the big guys who hold everything back till the trailer comes out and then it is what it is. Like, it's too late.
Yeah, and you're like, wow, that was great feedback we got in the beta. Too bad we're launching in 2 months. That didn't happen ever. No, so dumb. Sorry. There's no PTSD.
Well, let's finish then with, like, what's the pain? Like, what's, apart from the stuff we've talked about, is there anything else, anything you want to go, like, this is what caused us pain? Is it an engine thing? Is it money? Is it, like, what is, like, the day-to-day stuff that's just, like, this would solve all our issues?
The only thing, if I could change now to make it better, would honestly be the funding, which is, again, no shade on Jen. She has been phenomenal, has done far better than, like, any other CEO we've talked to at other companies, like, in the same boats that we are. The amount of money she's pulled in, like, in this crap-ass economy is 100%. Truly phenomenal. But, yeah, if I could, like, actually sleep through the night and not be wondering if I could, like, meet payroll to pay my, like, peeps again, that'd be great. And it's entirely more frustrating, too, because, like, a few years ago, I was signing multi-million-dollar deals on a stupid fucking 30-slide PowerPoint that had no functional prototype. And that was fine. You're like, burn! But there's, like, 12 hours of content in this playable, and it's beautiful. And you're like, yeah, but is it done yet? I'm like, no, it's not done yet. But yeah, so that funding, oh my God, figure stuff out because this is ridiculous.
Here. Okay, thanks, Michelle. You hang around and you can throw in as we talk to other new stuff, but this is fantastic. We'll put it up on the screen so everyone gets a chance. So I believe you're trying to get people to play the game, is that right? Like, you're trying to get play testers, people can actually get access to the game, or you're just about to launch it? Tell us the details of how people can, like,
yeah, so you can head on over to the Dragon Snacks Discord and you can join the playtest there. It's just available. You just fill out a really quick little form. We send you a Steam code and you can just install it. And then, yes, please play it, provide feedback. We're actually pushing a update to the build this afternoon, which is great, which has a whole bunch of the last big features are going in, new systems. And so, yeah, like, that's what we want is please play it, give us feedback, what you like, what you don't like, what you wish worked a little bit different. All that stuff is super, super helpful for us right now. We are hoping to go to early access next year. That's the plan.
Cool. Are you going to stay in early access for a while? That's the plan? Like the typical year or thereabouts? Just like to give it a chance.
Yeah, we don't have a hard schedule on that.
That's good.
It's done.
So you have the game build, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's what early access is meant to be. An actual early access, not a...
Yes, not just like the money-grubbing horrible thing that... Yeah.
Okay, well, thanks, Michelle. Hang around. Okay, Ross, should we head over and talk about the rest of the week's news? Not that there's much good of it, but let's kick off with the biggest thing, shall we?
Yeah, sure. So first up, we have the Xbox layoffs. After 5 years of continuous layoffs at Xbox, this week was the single biggest cut yet. 1,600 people losing their jobs now, and the same number to be cut over the coming year, as well as 4 studios being spun off and 1, we believe, facing closure. 1,600 losing their job right now, 1,600 more over the coming year. Operating margins 3 to 10 times lower than other platforms. Did we see this coming?
Well, obviously, yeah. I mean, we all knew the closures were happening, right? I think it's... yeah, let's parse through. I mean, I can obviously talk about Xbox forever. I was laid off last year, this exact same time. I think it's been like, say, 5 years of layoffs now across Xbox. So yeah, and I was just there a couple of weeks ago seeing the team, and they are very, very tired and very, very weirdly looking forward to this, just to try hopefully to draw a line. So to quickly kind of run through it from my point of view, and I'll let you guys throw in if you want to put in your 2 cents. But so yeah, 1,600 people losing their jobs now is obviously horrific. That's a lot of people. I know a lot of people. I've seen a lot. 1,600 in the coming year. I mean, you have to hope that those people know who they are and everyone knows they're not one of the 1,600. I don't believe that's the case. I think that is just what it is, which is just there's more to come, and that's frankly fucking horrible. That if they're holding that sort of Damocles over everyone to know there's more coming at some point randomly in the next year, and we talk about lack of morale. But anyway, we wait to see what that means. Operating margins 3 to 6 times lower than other platforms. That seems to be a reference to the kind of what was it? They kind of alluded to the fact making about 3% margin before, whereas they want to make it like 30% margin. So those numbers kind of fit into that math. Again, just plenty of people talked about this. There's no platform that runs on 30% margin. I mean, maybe Apple or whatever might charge 30% at the top line, but once you get your running costs and stuff, you're not running at 30% margin. So if they're trying to aim towards that in a console business, that's just scary. That just implies they want to hit a much, much harder margin than is normally do. Divesting the 4 studios, great that they're not closing them, of course. So I guess that's good news. Those ones are Compulsion, who are we got? Double Fine, Ninja Theory, Undead Labs. So Compulsion and Double Fine are spun off. Ninja Theory and Undead Labs are sold off. Arcane, unfortunately, we think is being closed. The news being that they're in consultation with the French unions, which kind of implies they're trying to close it down or at least get rid of some people. But we don't know, so let's not speculate on that. But the Blade game is sitting there, so there's a lot of fans just kind of worrying that we've lost Blade out of all that. Other things, just to kind of, we lost, quote from Asha, we lost 64 cents for every dollar we invested. That's a weirdly specific thing to throw out into the public domain from my point of view. And again, a weird thing because first-party games aren't really designed to make money as such. Bearing in mind you're meant to build a first-party game, your budget tends to be overly high because you're trying to impress, you're trying to use every single function of the console, you'll be day and date into Game Pass. It's not really designed to make a profit. So it's just weird to kind of call out that first-party games weren't profitable. Again, if they're not on all platforms, how can they be? But again, why they would say that stuff out loud is kind of worrying almost because it seems like we used to do this. Not anymore. Other quotes like not possible to own every great independent studio. I don't know if all that stuff needs to be said. But good news is nothing has been cancelled. They said everything that's been publicly announced will still ship as we speak, which is great. There's a few odd statements. This year we will invest as much in Xbox as we ever have. I don't know how that's possibly true in any way, shape, size, or form. Like, does that? I mean, it's just me. I don't know. But yeah, so there's a lot of stuff with that. And there's thing about thinning out layers. There's 14 layers of management. That's been cut down. I mean, I was there. I never saw 14 layers of management. They've been cutting down those layers for years and years and years. So I don't recognize that, but sure, if there is, and maybe in some of the devs, then I get the fact they've cut that down. But one thing I want to point out, 50% reduced vendor spend. Like, there's a couple of things to point out here. One, there's been a lot of people took early retirement. They offered people early retirement to go voluntarily. A lot of people, like dozens that I know, took that option. They're not counted in these numbers. So that team has got smaller through those redundancies. A lot of people, at one point, 50% of Microsoft employees were vendors. What that means is they are temporary employees. That's just what big business does. It's very easy to get rid of those people. And this is what's happening. So again, 50% cut in vendors is huge. Most of ID Xbox and so on is run by vendors, real people, but not on full-time contracts. So to lose half of them. So what I'm saying is that it's a lot more than 3,200 because you've got the retirees to throw in there, and you've also got the vendors getting cut as well. And just finally, there's 2 sentences that got picked up, one much more than the other. One was from Asha saying they want to entertain more than 1 billion people each day. And I actually seen a lot of negative reaction to this going, this is insane. Actually, it's not at all, because you have to remember you're including everyone who plays Minecraft, everyone who plays Microsoft Solitaire, which by the way is crazy popular in terms of games. You may not think of that as a video game that people log into a Microsoft account, but they do. But they also have all of Call of Duty. They have, if you add everything up, and clearly if you add in everything that King does with Candy Crush, you are talking hundreds and hundreds of millions of players, not the console stuff. So she's not talking about console, but that's what is interesting is she's talking about off console. And the biggest takeaway from me, apart from people losing their jobs, was Minecraft, Mojang, and Candy Crush, King are now reporting straight to Asha. So they've been basically promoted above Matt Booty, who's in charge of first party, and reporting straight to her. And she talked about them being platforms with very high MAU, which is monthly active users. And that's why they get promoted. So it gets just interesting. They are very kind of mobile, family friendly, massively ubiquitous, products. You could see they're very good for learning AI tools on things that big with that many players. Just interesting that Call of Duty didn't make that cut. World of Warcraft didn't make that cut. None of them are seen as platforms apparently, or being interesting enough to be that close to Asha and presumably kind of protected. So lots of stuff to kind of decompress. I think the biggest takeaway when I've spoken to all my ex-colleagues at Xbox is they really hope there'd be a strategy as well as this. It wouldn't just be we're getting smaller. That's inevitable, maybe. It's how does Xbox fit into Microsoft's strategy? It always has before in some way or another. They've gone through different, variations of it. I've lived through it. It doesn't right now because it's obviously AI at the moment. And it's just telling that now 18 months after Phil Spencer, but he's noticing they still haven't teased a single AI thing to do with Xbox. Like, so easy to mock something up, so easy to show what could be done, and they're just getting smaller, and they're not really talking too much about the future stuff. So that was all my top ahead, thoughts. Obviously, it's with the people, but also I think a lot of people are hoping for kind of a proper reset and a kind of here's where we're going, and that hasn't come out yet. So we're still hoping. Maybe Gamescom. Maybe they just have to get this bad news out of the way first before they talk about the future. That makes sense. But just hopeful they can draw a line under this. But it sounds like this is going to drag on a little bit longer. So anyway, that's my cheap reaction to it. I was up late last night talking to a lot of people. It sucks. There's more to come, but I guess good. It could have been worse, and there's still a lot of games still going to come out of those studios. You don't have to, but I'll open up to the floor. Any of you guys want to throw in any other senses? A player, people in the industry, or anything else? I mean, this is inevitable. I mean, it's coming, but it's also, I guess the biggest news story since they bought Activision. In terms of the potential decline of something that big like Xbox.
Yeah, look, it's really sad news. Once again, you do wonder: is this the fifth of this, with another year of this to come next year? I guess it would see how Asher takes things forwards. Just going through it's good, I guess, that, as you said, the studios aren't closing. In theory, they're just being sold off or being moved into other areas. That to me is always a positive. That most of the games that are planned are obviously all going to come out. I don't like the line about this year will be, we will invest as much in Xbox as we ever have. It just is. I just cannot believe they would come out with that at the same time as doing this.
Yeah.
In terms of the management and the thinning, the only thing I can think of there is it's literally all the different businesses that they've bought along the way, and they're just literally got so many probably layers within some of those. I mean, knowing some of the publishers that I know, there are multiple layers of people that you just don't realize, or why are they even there? So I think there's probably a bit of that, but it does worry me that there was 14 layers. And then, just the last point from me, you just got to hope that this is kind of like as low as it can get. We just want Xbox to make good games and make good consoles or hardware to play the games on, in my opinion. But you want that to be done by good people within this industry, and also new people who are wanting to get into this industry, because there's got to be a time where hopefully we can find new individuals to bring their talent into this incredible industry, and just hope that it can survive. As I guess, I don't know, one of the next news stories that we'll come on to with Sony and physical is going to come into this as well, but it just seems everything at the moment is so very negative in terms of the gaming industry, and there are still so many great games out there being made, and we want people to still be a part of this industry moving forwards as well.
Yeah, that's a great point. Great point. And it's worth saying, like, the industry is actually doing pretty damn well. We talk about 500 games coming out on Steam every week. That's going to increase. Discoverability might be an issue, but it's not as if we're all struggling for video games these days. So again, this is a bit of the Game of Thrones stuff happening at the top, and as long as the developers, I guess, survive. But I don't know, I'm just angry at how this couldn't have survived, and I could get into all where the money did go and where it should have gone, and how hard we drove for Game Pass and the lack of anything else. But whatever, Big Corp will do what Big Corp does. Well, I think we just kind of hoped that console would kind of survive through it. It feels like that's getting shaved and shaved and shaved, and that's what Xbox is to everybody. It's the first party games are what is exciting, but the machine you switch on and the games, the third party games you play, that team is a skeleton crew now, and I don't know how they grow which is the kind of scary thing. Michelle, what do you think? What's your emotions in the last 48 hours?
Yeah, it's been rough over here in Maryland. I know a lot. I have a lot of
Yeah.
friends who worked at both Cinemax Online and Bethesda Prime,
That's what I think. So
and
Bethesda are based there, yeah.
yeah, they're both there. And out of like the 15, 30 people I knew, two of them survived. So it's been really rough. It's
Yeah.
and it's developers getting cut. I agree wholeheartedly with her. There's too much mid management because when we worked with Microsoft, I don't think there was 14, but I can think of 8 off the top of my head, and there was just too much management and bloat to get things done. And it wasn't because they were bad people. It's just there were too many bureaucratic hoops to jump through to even make a single silly decision. Like to post on a forum board, I had to go through 5 levels of permissions to make a post that said thank you for the feedback. That's fucking dumb. So there is certainly something there to be streamlined. She's not wrong, but that's not who I was seeing being cut in this. It was developers and these people who had nothing to do with these decisions or any of these money making things. And that's usually, unfortunately, what I keep seeing happening is people had no call for these things being the ones taking the brunt of the layoffs and not the people who actually were in the room making the decisions. So yeah, it's been rough in Maryland.
Yeah, that's it. And again, these companies were like again swallowed up. Bethesda being one of them.
Yeah.
It wasn't. I mean, they sold out. You know, they wanted to. The owners wanted to get out, but still, we fast forward a few years and they're smaller and probably have less funding. And you think, how on earth?
And it's a lot of it. The
Elder Scrolls 6 guys are struggling and laying people off. You know.
Yeah, and it's a lot of this
we
mid
still
to
await
senior
Edward,
level
sorry.
staff. No, I'm saying it's a lot of the mid to senior level staff too that got laid off. So it's like institutional knowledge is gone. Centuries upon centuries levels of knowledge is gone. And that's like we do need to make spaces for like the new graduates coming in, definitely, but also like that's real bad too. Just to get rid of like everybody who had more than 10 years experience. That's not healthy.
Yeah, you both said it. Like even if there are too many people in the middle or too many gates to go through, the human beings were great. Like they obviously employed the best people in the industry, so just move them somewhere else. Like that's the reason for a reshuffle. It's not a reason to get rid of the people who you promoted because they were great, or you hired because they were great, because they could look after a team, and now they've gone. And again, to state the obvious, you get rid of all the middle management, and the team at the bottom not only working harder, they have no reason. Like they're never going to get promoted. Like they're just like best case I keep my job, worst case I lose my job. But there's no. Like one day I'll be in charge because now your boss is maybe like used to be 6 ranks above you and are earning 10 times your salary. Like it's not becomes unrealistic. So it's that lack of morale thing again. It just is going to make it tough for the day to day. So with that good news, let's move on and talk about PlayStation.
I've got one other thing actually
go
for
on,
the
go on,
Xbox
Ross,
part, which like I saw yesterday, I think it was as well, which isn't like as like to do with the layoffs or anything, but still Xbox related. I would love to get your opinion on this. Then there's a rumor floating around that they want to transfer the Halo franchise under Activision Blizzard. That to me is interesting.
Yeah.
Is it something you'd seen, Ian, or like I'd love to get your thoughts on initially on that, because we all know where COD is at currently, and we all know where Halo's kind of not fallen to, but has been as well.
Well, where is it? Yeah.
Very strange one, or not a strange one. I'm just intrigued to get your thoughts on it.
Well, I'll tell you, the one thing is, the question I get asked the most is like, is Xbox going to get spun off, or are they, is Microsoft going to try and sell them? And that's been a question forever. And the answer's always been no. So I'm going to wholeheartedly no. For one thing, Xbox was kind of fed into it. Like some of the engineering people were Windows engineering people as well as maybe Excel engineering people. Like it's one company, so there's a lot of gray area. There was no real kind of way to cut it off, and then who would buy it, and then if it's not making money, who right now is going to spend something that big, and so on and so on. But they are some odd statements, like they have cut Copilot out of Xbox, cut AI. The AI person has cut AI out of Xbox. That seems frightening. And then yes, these kind of moves as to where these studios sit and who's making what certainly feels like they would happily sell some of these if somebody wanted to buy them, and they're compartmentalizing some of this stuff to make it easier to sell. I think that's what's happening. I don't know if they've got a buyer other than they're just prepared. But how crazy that it kind of looks like if somebody would want to, they'd probably sell Call of Duty right now, and maybe hang on to Halo. You know, because again, it's interesting. They've talked about putting more money into Halo, more money into Fallout, more money into Elder Scrolls, which I think just means hurrying them up, but a lot less on COD, and that's like the thing they just bought. So yeah, super interesting what their plan is for that. So let's talk about the other good news story, which is Sony this week.
Yeah, so Sony have announced PlayStation disc manufacturing will cease at the end of 2027 for new releases.
Yeah.
You kind of see, like, look, there's so many different things. Like, from someone my age and generation, you look at this and go, no, this can't be real. And then you're gonna have a look at a young generation and be like, well, yeah, whatever. I'm never owned a disc in my life. But I think there's so many other ramifications for this that sit outside of just the how you're going to be able to source and play your games. But I'll hand it over to the floor initially, just to obviously discuss the initial announcement, as it were.
Initially interesting, back from 2013, the Xbox One debacle launch, where they kind of Sony won the whole show by Adam Boyes handing over like a disc to someone and going, "Hey, look, this is how our console works." And now, so I think that was my first reaction. Was I didn't expect them to be the first to back out physical media. Bearing in mind Sony are a hardware company and they absolutely want to sell hardware. I think part of it is obviously they want to take the disc drive out to just save money because it's going to be a really horrific, PlayStation 6. I don't know why they did it now. I don't know if they did it like just before the Xbox announcement because they knew that was coming as a way to kind of bury the lead. Didn't work. They were a couple of days too early. But yeah, really bad for guys at Limited Run and those other people. I know there's a bit of clarification that old games you can still request builds, but still, it's still an end date, kind of round about the new console end date, which implies the new console won't have a hard drive. So, sorry, a disc drive. So yeah, just kind of disappointing and weird and kind of feels maybe unnecessary. I don't know. Michelle, do you feel like there's no physical left anymore, or is this existential? I don't know.
Well, I'm going to have another unpopular hot take. It's fine. Because when I heard it, I said, I don't give a shit when's the last time I bought a box or a disc. I can't remember. So, I mean, because like over here, you can't see it. I had to build in new bookcases for the already hundreds of games I have on disc that I can't bear to part with for sentimental reasons, but I don't want to have to perpetuate this problem anymore. That being said, there is a separate but related issue of digital rights ownership and like what happens with the game I bought. Did I not actually buy it? Is it a license? That is a serious problem that needs to be addressed. That is not only Sony's problem to address. Like Steam has a massive stake in that cake too. Although you don't eat cake with a steak, don't worry about it. But so that is a conversation that needs to happen. It needs to have something that with players of mine, especially because like I can't stand having subs for everything. Like I want to own the thing I bought, but I also want it to be digital at this point, just because I don't want to have to deal with all this crap anymore in my room. I really don't.
Yeah, so I mean, I think the last official number I saw from NPD or something was about 20%, of the industry now is disc. So you fast forward 18 months, it is reasonable to assume the new machine shouldn't have one. But yeah, I don't know. Again, I'm just surprised they would do it this early, and it would be them that does it.
I don't know. There's still a bit of me. I think because I am older. To be fair, I personally haven't bought a disc version of a game in quite some time either. So there is that side of it. So you completely understand, obviously, the production costs that go into it. We all saw the rise in a way, prices of games when they went digital, and it was actually cheaper to buy a box version, even though it was far more expensive to create. So I see from that point of view, and then there's the usage of plastic and the usage of the materials needed to make it all. So that not happening anymore. I think the one thing that intrigues me is a couple of bits. One is, and again, this might be quite small by the time it comes to it, but the retailers that sell the gaming products and trade in older stuff, I mean, that's going to, if this is something that goes across the board, it's going to put pay to kind of like them being able to do that anymore.
They still exist.
So there's that, and there's obviously a lot of other stores. And in the UK, we've got the likes of CEX, who are still doing a lot of stuff on that front. Obviously not really game anymore with the Frasers Group. That's pretty much done and dusted. So they probably saw the writing on the wall already with that. So there's that element. And I guess the other end, people just say, well, music transitioned, film transitioned. We're seeing a bit of a kind of like a retro fallback on that, where Blu-ray is getting a little bit more popular again, and vinyl record. And so there's always an audience, I think, for this and the limited edition side of things. The one thing I found intriguing was where people were saying, well, yeah, but music did it. But then music transitioned to a subscription service, as it were, where you get all of the music. You don't really go and buy individual music that much. So I know we've been in this digital world already on the gaming side for quite some time. So we're used to doing the likes of purchasing a game on Steam digitally. purchasing a game on Xbox or PlayStation Store or Nintendo eShop. But there's just that bit of me that thinks moving forwards, does that mean then we need to transition to a bit more of like a Game Pass solution that is just anything and everything is available? I don't know. It was just one thing I'd wanted to throw out there as, I know it's going to have to transition digitally, but can we stick with the whole, the game's never really yours kind of thing? We've seen it with the movies on the PlayStation side, where they've pulled licenses, and if you have purchased those movies digitally, you now don't have them in your catalog anymore. So it's really interesting for me, because I always thought you've got your physical product, you've always got it, even if you don't, like some kind of times you buy a physical product, it's just a code in a box, which again makes no sense. But yeah, that's just my initial reaction. I think we know it was coming. Strange time to announce it. And also with the length of time they're doing it as well, like they're giving themselves this period of time, isn't it? I think, as you say, maybe it is that life cycle element of running into the end of the PS5, moving on from there into the next generation. No disk drive, not even a disk drive. But then I guess disk drive to attach it to play backwards compatibility stuff again. And we're going to go down that route again of what's backwards compatible. So, yeah.
No, I think that's fair. I think it's... interesting. Let's segue, I think, into the Game Pass discussion then.
Yeah, so Game Pass is reportedly now down to 30 million subscribers. The initial reports are claiming that it is down to the price hike, which you can kind of see, which has obviously then been reversed slightly. So whether these numbers will increase again based on the price coming back down again. But yeah, I mean, to me, that's... I mean, I don't know. That still seems a reasonably good number. I don't know, Ian, if you can knew what peaks have been for Game Pass usage. Is not something I'm aware of personally. From a subscriber base?
Yeah, I do. Again, what's public is different. But what is public through, and this is what, again, the media are talking about, is through the Activision disclosure. They publicly said that they were trying to hit about 77 million subscribers by this point.
Right, okay.
Driving to 100 million subscribers. And for 3 years, Xbox is only focused on Game Pass growth to hit those numbers. So they're obviously significantly off of that, obviously less than half of where they wanted to be. That's one news point. But yeah, you're absolutely right. I think that the other side of this news point, which is worth picking up on, is there's 30 million people spending about $20 a month. That is huge. That's a huge cash cow of money. And so, yeah, I think you're right to the last point. There's a soft attack, if you will, on people can't trade in their games anymore as currency, as games get more and more expensive. Is that an issue? It's really hard to manage. It just is what it is. Games are just gonna be harder to get. There's no trade-in system for digital. You can't really notice it, but that does seem to make things harder. A bit like this, 30 million is a huge amount of people. That's more than enough to drive a huge amount of content. But presumably Xbox are cutting content budgets too, right? It would be kind of insane if they weren't. No one knows what they are. That's your invisible cost to save. So yeah, that is more than healthy enough to feed it, providing, if they cut content, then in theory, we'll all start to look at it and go, oh, those games aren't as good. And that'll just get the inevitable slow downturn. So like everyone else, I want to see that grow. But, to that point, I was so close to it. Michelle, I know obviously your good friend Jen was very, very close to it for years. There was always mixed opinions on Game Pass being additive or not. And part of that was because of how hard it was pushed, all those day-and-date games. That's clearly going to walk back a little bit. It's going to be a bit more softer, I think. Is there a place in the world for this? Was this something that is it better to just say, no, games are too expensive, let people buy them, there's no way to really make this work for $20 without underserving devs? Or is this something there should be more of, to Ross's point, to make it more affordable, easier access, given the money point? Where do you think, where's your stance on Game Pass, being good or bad?
I like Game Pass as an idea, both as a dev and as a player. So from more of a player or like even designer standpoint, having access to a bunch of stuff I can play just for like an hour or 30 minutes just because I need to keep abreast of what's going on is kind of phenomenal, because I don't want to have to keep buying stuff on Steam and then trying to hit the refund window because I'm a terrible human being, because I just needed to see what this was. And I had no interest in actually playing it because it's not my genre or not my type of thing. So Game Pass for that has been phenomenal. From a dev standpoint, at least the deals that I've been more privy to personally, so this is very biased data, they haven't been bad necessarily for the dev, especially if you were building a game that had heavy investment on DLC post-launch, like not necessarily microtransactions, but if you were creating content at a decent enough clip, if you could get someone to try your game out on Game Pass, you could still make a shit ton of money by continuing to sell upgrades and expansions, skins, items, and make a business plan that way that was fully functional. And yeah, exactly. And you had then a really much larger potential player funnel coming from the subscriber base than you would have just normally through your everyday marketing channel. So I don't dislike it as a concept. My more beef comes from then what's the price point and what games are on it and how often do games fall off it? Because then that's where like my money to value calculus starts to be like, oh, I actually didn't want to play any of these, and the ones I wanted fell off. So,
but, yeah, my worry for me is Game Pass is just a value proposition now. You know, whereas before it was like all the day and date games are in there, and it was very much if you're on Xbox, why not? This kind of gets you the Xbox library, so to speak.
Yeah.
It was just a no-brainer. Not only was a good value, it was like if you bought an Xbox, you get it, and then that gets you the first-party games, so you're kind of in. That's part of the Xbox. When they start to take that stuff out, or start to go like, well, we're going to see if we can afford to do it or whatever. To me, it's just a question of, well, do I spend more than $22.99 a month to get these games? If not, why bother? You know, it starts to become much more obvious what you're paying for, and I worry people will just think, well, better to save $22 and buy the one I want to buy than the other way around. I don't know. Games are expensive. That helps. Cable will help. You know, there are stuff that better spend $22 on that than $80 on it maybe. But again, I'm not sure that's good for Microsoft. But maybe they'll keep people in Game Pass. Anyway, let's start wrap up. Ross, do you want to talk us to what's coming in next week, and then we can wrap up the show?
Yeah. So from quite a quiet week, we've got a reasonably busy week of releases, or larger releases, I guess you would say, going into this week. So we've got Power World 1.0 launch. So obviously a very successful early access. That's finally going to 1.0. We've got Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resynced, which is obviously launching as well. That's had some pretty good feedback, I think, from the people that have played it. And I've seen some videos go up recently over the last day or two of gameplay, and people seem to be wanting to watch it and want to play it again. So if you didn't play it, obviously great to get into it for the first time now. If you have played it, obviously it was a reasonably good Assassin's Creed game, so feel free to get on board with that once again. College Football 27.
I'm going to let that slide. Like, there's many people's
no, let us. See, this is just it. That's just my personal opinion. Like, I love the first couple, and there was just a bit too much boat involved in Black Flag. That's all I'm going to say. So look, different things appeal to different people, right?
I have played every single one. Again, business-wise, I've done many deals. I've been very close to Ubisoft. It's been one of those things in my life for a very, very long time. Black Flag is not my favorite either, but I don't feel brave enough to shit on it because everyone just tells me it's the best one.
I'm not shitting on it.
I'm just sure. I mean, I like the franchise.
I'm not shitting on it. I'm literally just saying it wasn't my cup of tea. After playing the first two, 3 wasn't very good either, in my opinion. Just hate me for it. I think I just got too much from 1 and 2.
I am judging
and then
you
it just
now.
got a bit too much.
Yeah,
I know. Feel
comment
free.
section we'll judge.
Just literally judge me. It's fine. But that's the great thing about games, right? No, but that's the great thing about games. Everyone can have an opinion, and not everything is for everyone. But I will guarantee you there are so many people that loved those elements of Black Flag, and that's why they've used that one and redone it, resynced it, and I hope it does really well for them, because the Assassin's Creed franchise probably needs a bit of that again, even though it's an old game being resynced.
Yeah, that
just franchise needs something to boost it back up in the positive column over the negative column, in my personal opinion.
I agree.
Anyway,
I genuinely don't know what they're doing next, so like everybody else, I'm just hoping this is a good boot up to whatever the next thing is. But anyway, sorry, carry on.
No, sorry for my opinions. College Football 27, obviously not huge in Europe, but from a North American point of view and the US point of view, always does crazy, silly numbers. So that's obviously launching.
Let me just say, it's bigger than Madden these days, so it's just crazy. Yeah,
and obviously the whole college football scene, obviously I'm not privy to not being in the States, but I do get to see a few of the games, and just those games pulling in crowds of like hundreds of thousands of people is just insane. And also some of the best intros to teams you'll ever see in any sport whatsoever. If you've not seen any of those, they are well worth checking out on YouTube. I think it's the Sandman one, which is exceptional. Anyway, but back to the games. College Football 27, and we also have Echoes of Aincrad. I hope I've said that correct. From Bandai Namco. They are all out on Thursday the 9th. And we've also got Digimon Story Time Stranger, which is also coming out on Switch 2 this week. Not sure if that is Switch compatible as well. I would hope it is both. But
yeah, I think it is Switch 1 compatible.
hopefully.
I just saw another thing in the news that they're discontinuing the Switch in Europe for kind of
really?
legal battery reasons. They have to kind of either update the battery apparently for EU law or stop making it. So they've chosen to stop making it. But just interesting. I don't know if that's relevant. Switch 2 only. Kind of thought the Switch would.
Well, it kind of is, because didn't they just do a massive push on Switch 1 games in their last...
Yeah,
or they were trying to push Switch 1 games back into... Okay,
yeah, it's kind of hot
intriguing.
We may have to talk about that more. But all that, so yeah, thanks, Ross. Yeah, some genuinely good games. We should get a chance to play those and talk about those next week. Maybe not Assassin's Creed, but maybe we can find something else.
I'm sure you will love Assassin's Creed, Ian, for the second time. Or third time.
Or third time, indeed. It just remains for me to thank Ross for all your good work this week and helping us through. We will see you again next week. Michelle, it just remains obviously to finish off with you. How do people contact you again? Remind them where to find the game and how to take part.
Yeah, so if you head on over to Dragon Stacks, our Discord, it's public, join it. You can download the playtest there, and we're going to try to update it now monthly, so please join us there, hop on in, say stuff, play the game, give us feedback. Even if you have only negative things to say, that's great. Yay! And we're going to start actually putting up a public YouTube and hopefully even get our Steam wishlist page set up really soon too. So join the Discord so you can keep abreast of all that fun, exciting news coming up in the near future. Woo!
Thank you, Michelle. Amazing. Thank you, everybody. And we will see you again next week.